Hi, my name is Judi Friedman, and I'm chairperson of PACE, People's Action for Clean Energy. Our show is called Solutions to an Inconvenient Truth. The Inconvenient Truth, as I think you all know, is the film and the idea that Al Gore has worked so hard to broadcast across the world about the dangers of climate change and global warming. And his mission is just wonderful, and we're totally in favor of it. Our organization has been around since the 70s, and we are dedicated to solutions, helping people find practical, viable solutions to this terrible, inconvenient truth. Our solutions include energy efficiency and conservation, and the use of renewable forms of energy, solar electricity, solar hot water, solar thermal space heating, passive solar energy, small hydro, geothermal, and wind, among others. We are very concerned that some people are looking at nuclear power as a solution to climate change. We think that is a terrible, terrible idea. Nuclear power is a very dangerous technology. Our plants are aging, as our farmer friend Nevin Christensen says from Fleming Farm, old machines break. Nuclear power plants are also great terrorist targets, and we have a lot of them around. Should a terrorist strike Millstone or Indian Point, we could have many, many, many miles, square miles of land inhabitable, and people sick and dying, and the gene pool being affected. We feel nuclear power is also a very dangerous option because of the ongoing releases from nuclear plants. People do not realize that nuclear plants emit radioactive isotopes that are very, very dangerous cumulatively, year after year after year, falling on land, water, and air. They're invisible. You can't see, smell, hear, taste radiation, so we don't really understand it. We're also concerned about nuclear power because it's very, very expensive. To build enough nuclear plants in time to have climate change, make a difference with climate change would be impossible. And interestingly enough, nuclear power also, if you look at the entire fuel cycle, gives off carbon dioxide, the mining and milling of uranium, the processing, the transporting, transporting of waste, all these things demand release CO2 in their processes. So we think this is a very bad idea. However, we're very heartened by Connecticut's leadership in some areas of climate change. And today we have a wonderful guest with us. His name is Roger Smith, and I don't think I know anyone who is more hardworking or more diligent than Roger Smith. He's head of an organization called Clean Water, or Clean Water Action. Which is it?
Clean Water Action.
Clean Water Action. Now, Roger, can you tell us a little about Clean Water Action and where it is located, what it does, what can people do to be involved in your organization?
Sure. Well, Clean Water Action here in Connecticut, we're based in Hartford. We have an office in the West End on Farmington Ave. And we're a statewide group with about 11,000 members across Connecticut. And Clean Water Action is part of a national organization, and we do work on water at the federal level and helped pass the Clean Water Act back in the early 1970s,
Yay.
Which is a very good thing and still has a ways to go. Here in Connecticut, the most pressing issues that we see that affect the environment and human health are related to our air quality and our energy choices. So we actually really got our start here in Connecticut in the 1990s working on a campaign to clean up those sooty 6 power plants.
So what's wrong with our air quality?
Well, besides the fact that it's among the worst in the nation, not very much at all. It's shortening people's lives and triggering asthma attacks.
It's one of the worst. Connecticut air quality is one of the worst in the nation. That's
Absolutely.
True?
Absolutely.
And what does that mean for us as far as Connecticut life goes?
Well, it means that on some days people are urged not to go outside. I mean, if you ever hear of code red ozone days or code purple ozone days, I mean, these are days where it's so unhealthy to breathe that your lungs actually become inflamed that when you go outside, that children are recommended to stay indoors. People shouldn't exercise. People should try to avoid the outdoors. I mean, if that's not a severe curtailment of one's quality of life, I don't know what is. And it's not just something that's uncomfortable, it's something that's sending people to the hospital and even causing premature deaths.
How causing premature? How does air pollution cause premature deaths?
Well, it depends on the pollutant, but some of them are one of the big problems is fine particle pollution. You know, particles that are so tiny that they get into your lungs. There they can trigger asthma attacks if you have asthma. If you don't have asthma, it still reduces your lung function, so you don't breathe as efficiently. And some of these particles actually get into your bloodstream, where they cause inflammation. And if you think of inflammation not being a real good thing, this can actually interrupt the rhythms of the heart. And in that way,
where does this air pollution come from?
Well, again, it depends on exactly which pollution. Some of the fine particle pollution we're looking at, I mean, some of it we're talking about power plants, and we've made great strides cleaning up the power plants here in Connecticut. We won on the Sooty 6 back in 2002.
Sooty 6 means 6 plants who had a lot of particles, and what happened with that?
High sulfur dioxide emissions, and we forced them to come back up to modern standards, and that was really the first state in the nation to pass a law.
First state in the nation to pass the law to bring the old plants up to modern standards.
Exactly.
Yay, Connecticut.
Exactly, and that's what gives us the moral clarity we need for our Attorney General to be able to go and sue power plants in the Midwest and say that you need to curb your own pollution because you're causing problems for us, and we've done our part already.
That's great. So we're asking, I love that, moral clarity. That's a great quote. I like that so much. We're asking the plants in the Midwest to do what we did.
Basically.
And we get their pollution.
It's a gift that keeps on coming. Whether or not we get any benefit from it, we do get the pollution as it blows on this way.
Because the winds travel from west to east.
Yeah, and that's part of it. And again, like other major sources of pollution are transportation and automobiles. Diesel soot is the next biggest source next to power plants for fine particle pollution.
Diesel soot from trucks and buses?
Yeah, I mean, trucks are a huge part of the overall emission problem. Construction equipment, you might not think of it as much, but that's also absolutely huge. Locomotives, marine vessels, I mean, these are all diesels burning fairly dirty fuel and tremendous pollution problems associated with them.
I think that the idea that bothers me the most is that school buses have diesel, and the children, the poor things, they leave the motors running, and the children are standing in line waiting to go on the school bus, and then they're breathing all this. Is that what happens?
Unfortunately, in many places. I mean, there's some good news with the school buses. It is illegal to idle a bus more than 3 minutes.
Could you repeat that, please, for all mothers and fathers,
Absolutely.
please?
Well, it's not legal in the state of Connecticut to idle a school bus for more than 3 minutes.
Wow.
They're really supposed to turn off their engines when they're at the school there, and they're supposed to turn it on when they're ready to leave. And that is enforceable. There are penalties, and you'll notice at a lot of schools they have things that say this is a clean air zone or an idle-free zone. And those are free signs that the State Department of Environmental Protection is giving out to school districts, trying to educate drivers to do the right thing.
So then parents might, on PTAs or something, might want to get those signs up where the children wait for the buses.
Yeah, if they're not up now, put them up and watch the buses. Have your kid write down if they see them idling. Put a list together, take it to the principal. You don't hear anything back, take it to the school superintendent. If you don't hear back, go to the state DEP, as this is enforceable. It's something that they're not supposed to be doing. But
we're very interested in children in our organization. As everyone knows, I think children are very vulnerable. They're much more vulnerable. They move around more, they run around more, they take in more air per volume, their body weight. So this idea of trying to protect the children from the air quality is a very important issue, and I thank you so much for all the work you've done on that. That's wonderful.
Absolutely, and depending when the show airs, it may already be done by then, but we're working on legislation now that would force all the school buses in the state to put on pollution controls. And these controls would help keep pollution from coming into the cabins And you can think of them as filters going on in the tailpipe that can cut pollution up to 90%.
Wow.
And that's the difference between a dirty diesel cloud of smoke and say a natural gas vehicle where you don't really see anything coming out of the tailpipe.
What about biodiesel? We're hearing a lot about biodiesel. Is that a cleaner fuel than normal diesel?
Biodiesel definitely has some pollution benefits. They're just fairly limited in normal blends. Like usually you don't run straight biodiesel, you run them with petroleum diesel, so that's already going to dilute the benefit. What we can say on biodiesel is that in higher concentrations there's less of these fine particles that cause premature death and asthma attacks. The problem is the more biodiesel you use, the higher nitrogen oxide emissions you get. And when we were talking about the ozone smog days before, well, that's because of nitrogen oxides and sunlight mixing together. So it's like you're kind of trading one pollutant for the other. Truthfully, the best thing you can do on diesel vehicles is to put on filters. If you want to run them with a low biodiesel blend, that's fine, doesn't hurt anything. But it's really, without the filter, you're going to have some big particle pollution problems.
Roger, I've seen people jogging late in the day on a summer day when the ozone is scary. That's not a good idea, is it?
Not a real good idea. And you can actually go to the State Department of Environmental Protection website, and there's also a thing called EPA Air Now. You can do a search for it.
EPA Air Now.
Yeah, and it's fairly easy to find. What they are, they're air quality maps, and you can actually check them every day. You can say, okay, well, how is Hartford for particle pollution, or how is New Britain for ozone pollution today? And maybe I'll go running a little bit earlier and try to beat it. And you can actually watch the maps over the day go from normal to red to purple on some days. And those are days when you really don't want to be outside.
So if you're going to jog outside in the summer, you might be better off doing it in the morning?
Do it in the morning. You're going to see the highest ozone levels later in the day, like in the afternoon and early evening. So you're going to either have to wait really late for that to cool off or try to beat it in the morning.
Roger, I also admire very much the alerts that you send out. They're very well written and very useful. When I get them on my computer, I always look at them and try to do just what you tell me. It's about your legislators, whom to call, what the issues are, and so if people want to find you, you're under your website would be cleanwater.org or something like that. Is that right?
Yeah, it's cleanwateraction.org.
Right.
People can also look for the New England Climate Coalition and Connecticut Climate Coalition. And this is what we coordinate on global warming. So if you're interested in diesel soot, clean energy, energy efficiency, and what you can do as citizens, we have a lot of great resources on our website. We actually put out a report fairly recently called A Climate for Action, and it assesses Connecticut's global warming progress to date, what we've done and what remains to be done, and people can download this for free on our website and just get a better sense of where we are. We're in the lead in Connecticut, but we have a long way to go here in the nation.
Well, I'm very proud of Connecticut for several reasons. One is the Clean Energy Fund, which if people want to put a solar electric system on their house and they use one of the eligible installers, the state will rebate about 50% of the cost of that installation. And that's a wonderful Connecticut leadership move, I think. And also, our organization is very, very interested in the green energy option, which anyone who uses an electricity customer can sign up for. You can do it through CLNP or UI, depending on what your company is, and then you have a choice of Sterling plant or community energy. And some towns are even racing to get people signing up, and the towns are racing each other, and those towns that get 100 people signing up are getting free solar electric panels, which buy clean, free electricity for their town. And I think West Hartford is up to maybe 5 panels, is that right?
We're actually higher than that. I live in West Hartford, and right now we're leading the state, and we have over 800 customers signed up, and we qualified for an extra bonus, so actually we're closer to 10 now. That's about $100,000 worth of free solar that's going on our schools and our town hall, and that's just for our town leading by buying clean energy and having all these people who care enough to be willing to pay a little bit more each month in their own electricity bill to support clean energy.
It's a Connecticut Clean Energy Options program, and people say, well, I don't want to pay any more money for my electric bill. It's high enough already. I don't want to pay any more money at all, even if it's just a few dollars. How do you answer that?
Well, I think the first thing to say is, have you already switched out your light bulbs to compact fluorescents? And if not, you can wipe out the additional cost of this program just by changing a bulb or two. So if you haven't done that yet, give it a try and you think, okay, well maybe, I have lights that are dimmer lights, or I have 3-ways, or I have lights that are in enclosed fixtures, or ones like candelabra base. Well, guess what? There's actually compact fluorescent bulbs around for each type of those fixtures now. And it's on state websites like ctsavesenergy.org, which is the state efficiency fund. They're massively subsidized, they're discounted, and they fit in all sorts of fixtures. I mean, I didn't even know about half of these things until I picked up a catalog recently.
We had a tour recently, and Senator Bob Duff was on the tour, and he talked about his energy bill. He went around and changed all the lights in his house, and his bill dropped in 1 month from $160 to $52 simply because he changed all his light bulbs, and that's very exciting. It's something everyone can do.
Absolutely. And just remember, when those bulbs die and when they're ready to move on, to dispose of them as household hazardous waste. Don't throw them in the regular trash. They contain small amounts of mercury, and it's very important that they be recycled, because almost all that mercury can be recovered, but not if it goes into a landfill or incinerator, where it's going to end up back in the environment.
So some people say, well, why would I want to buy a bulb that had mercury in it? What's the answer to that?
Well, you're going to cause a lot more pollution by using a regular incandescent bulb, because where's that energy coming from? It's coming from, Bridgeport Harbor coal plant. It's coming from one of these Sooty 6 plants. It's coming from another dirty power plant here in Connecticut. And the amount of mercury that those power plants are putting out to produce electricity is more than you actually have in these little bulbs. And we care about more than mercury. I mean, that's certainly important, but you think of nitrogen oxides, you think of these fine particles, you think of CO2, you think of global warming emissions. You can actually do something on all of them with a compact fluorescent. You just need to dispose of it properly. And I think that's not too much to ask.
No, that's a wonderful option, but the green energy sign-up is very important also. And as Roger said, with a little tiny few dollars, $5, whatever it is, more a month that you pay on your bill, if you change your light bulbs, that kind of wipes out that extra charge. And to me, signing up for the green energy option is like, instead of giving money to the Heart Association, the Lung Association, or you can do that too, but it's like a contribution, a charitable contribution to make a cleaner environment directly. It's not going through any middleman, it's going directly into purchasing renewable energy. That's very exciting. Roger, what can the normal person who's busy, has kids, a job, lots of things on their mind, what can they do? What are some of the important things that they can do to help help us from getting in this terrible, scary situation that seems to be approaching if we don't make big changes? What can someone do?
Well, I think the key is that we need more leaders at every level. We need people to lead in their own lives by doing what you're talking about, by buying clean energy and compact fluorescent bulbs and setting an example for others. But we can't stop there, or we're not going to win. So we need to take that to the next level. We need to take it to the faith congregational level. Let's make the whole church a model for clean energy and how to live sustainably. Don't stop there. Let's take it to the town. Let's get the town governments to sign on for clean energy and to take stock of their energy choices. And then we need to act as a state as well. And that's really where my organization comes in. Think, how can I as a citizen change state energy policy? Well, the answer is you can work with a group like ours where we'll tell you when to call and we'll tell you who to call. We'll tell you what's going on. And the thing is, it's not just you. If you see that email and say, should I do this? Well, there's about 1,000 other people who are getting that email at the exact same time asking themselves the exact same question. If they all say yes, I'm going to take that 30 seconds, I'm going to place that call, or I'm going to write a letter, that is actually all you need to do to make Connecticut a leader in things like cleaning up its power plants, passing the second global warming law in the nation in 2004. We're working to clean up diesel pollution, and I think we're about to do it on school buses. I mean, these are the sort of things where citizen activism actually shows real results. So, we need to lead at every level, and we need help. The thing that we need is more citizens, and I'd say a couple minutes a day is all you need to feel that you're doing your part for our environment and our health.
Couple minutes a day, that's a good way to put it. Now, I've heard that a letter is really the most powerful tool we have. A letter to a legislator is the most powerful tool. And that secondly, a phone call is the next most powerful tool. And then another one, but maybe not quite as powerful, is emails. I don't know. Is that true or not?
I think it to some extent depends on the legislator you're talking about, and also on the level of government. D.C. is a little bit different than here in Connecticut. With anthrax and other things, they're having a little trouble with the letters. But here in Connecticut, not so much problems with anthrax. And it's really, if you take the time to write a handwritten letter to your own representative, they should pay attention. But sometimes issues are too timely for that. You don't have time to hope it gets there. And that's when, place a call, ask for the name of the aide so that you know who you're talking to. And when you call back, you can ask them, so what did the legislator do on this?
That's a good idea.
And if you send in a letter and you don't hear back, give them a call. Don't just assume that your voice didn't count. Say, I took the time to write a letter and, I wanted to know what your position was on this issue. That is how you start to, I think, really influence things, because they realize that, oh, wait a second, there's people in my district watching me, and they want you to know when they do the right thing. So I think that, starting to do that is really important. And emails, it's always good to do emails, but you just never know, when they get 1,000 a day, how effectively they can sort through them, especially at the state level.
The problem is for some people is they don't know who their state legislator is, and they get confused between their federal legislators and their state legislators. And it is very important to know who your representative is at the state level and who your senator is at the state level. How can people learn the appropriate person to write to if they don't know who represents them at the state level?
I think the absolute best resource that I found on this, and I use it myself, is a website, votesmart.org.
Okay, votesmart.org. Okay,
and
votesmart.org.
And it's a great website because if you just type in your zip code +4, and it'll even help you find the +4 digits if you don't know it, it'll tell you everybody who represents you down from the county level to the president.
The dog catcher.
Exactly, and their contact info, and they'll have guides to groups who've rated them on different issues. So if you really care what they do on gun control or the environment, you can actually click on there. You can see position statements that they made when they're running for office. It's really the best collection of resources I've found. And that's what I do to look up if I'm not sure who's representing a particular area.
Well, I'm glad you told me that too, because that's a great resource. Votesmart.org.
Absolutely.
Finding out what your legislators are doing at every level, and that's just wonderful. We need to do much more. We need to speak out because our health is being hurt and our economy is being hurt, and we're fighting a war that is probably for a fossil fuel that we shouldn't be using anyway. And these are great problems, and people have to speak up.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Roger, can you tell us any more about what your organization does, or any more that people can do or help?
Absolutely. I mean, we're actually really privileged to be here in Connecticut right now.
Wow.
Which is,
I love hearing that.
I
love this state.
I can't say that for everybody or for every state, but for Connecticut right now, we have an opportunity to be a national and a global leader on global warming. And the way we're going to do that is by setting an example and showing what other states can do. So we have a comprehensive global warming action plan. One of the first states in the nation to come up with one.
Who else? What other states has a plan? What other ones?
A number of them do now. We were one of the first, and most of the New England states, all of them except for New Hampshire, are actively, have a plan either done or almost done. New York has one. California is working on theirs. I mean, it's pretty exciting.
We're ahead of California?
We're way ahead of California in some ways. In some ways. We at least started the planning first. They're threatening to leapfrog us, though, because Governor Schwarzenegger is now saying we're going to dramatically cut emissions from all sectors of the economy and make it mandatory. So that's a step beyond what we're doing here, but it's a good place for us to catch up to. But here in Connecticut, we're part of a 10-state initiative to limit global warming pollution from power plants. And there's a big fight on right now to make sure that no plant is grandfathered into that system and make sure that they're not rewarded for their pollution. They should have to pay for each ton of CO2 they put into the air, and that's something a precedent we can set under this program.
Roger, are there other things that people can do personally besides change light bulbs? Are there some other things that you can think of that just to leave people with solutions to an inconvenient truth?
Well, I think in terms of solutions, I think probably the place to start is the state climate plan. And there, it's called the Connecticut Climate Change Action Plan, and it's at our website, ctclimatechange.com. And on that website, there's actually a great list of things that you can do in your own life with links to where there's incentives or other things to help you do it.
Can you give an example?
I'll give you a couple examples. I mean, you mentioned energy efficiency. Well, we actually have an energy efficiency fund at ctsavesenergy.org where you get rebates on efficient appliances, or they'll take back an old air conditioner or refrigerator or things like that.
Okay, let's say that again. They'll take back an old air conditioner, because air conditioners are big energy gobblers.
Mm-hmm.
Or tell us again, repeat that please.
I don't want to mislead people. I'm not sure exactly what the current offers are, but at ctsavesenergy.org.
ctsavesenergy.org. Okay.
Exactly. Like, that's where you'll find what the latest thing is. I think now it's for efficient washer dryer set, something like that. So that's a great resource.
And the exciting thing is you're not only helping global warming, you're also smart economically. Because
you're going to save a ton of money.
You're going to save a lot of money, and it's nice when two things go together like that.
Absolutely, and that's what energy efficiency does. So there's things like that. There's resources like New Ride. So if you want to, say, carpool with someone to work, but you don't really know anybody going your direction, this is a website that matches people up.
Okay, could you repeat that?
It's New Ride, which is Nuride, and I believe it's .com.
New Ride, Nuride, probably .com.
I believe so, and for example, that is, you can find people to carpool with, and you get discounts. So every time you take a carpool, you earn points towards a store like Home Depot.
Wow!
So it's like, okay,
then you can buy compact fluorescent light bulbs.
Exactly, and insulation and all sorts of good things. So at the State Climate Change website, there's links to good things like that, to local farmers markets. There's all sorts of great things like that.
That's a very good point. Buying food locally is a way to mitigate climate change, because you're going to be using less fossil fuels, less gasoline to get your food, and your food will be using less gasoline coming to you.
And you'll be supporting local farmers, and heck, it tastes better most of the time.
It does. It's healthier too. So that's local food is very, very important. There's a good quiz we have from the Sierra Club. What is the more environmental? If you're going to eat a pineapple, do you choose Costa Rican or Hawaiian pineapple? Well, Costa Rican involves less gas transportation, so it's the more environmental pineapple. But the best thing would be to eat a local apple.
Exactly.
Well, that's just great. Another idea? Do you have another idea?
Yeah, I mean, I think those are a couple of really key ones people can do. I mean, the thing that people really use energy on, though, is their cars and their homes.
Cars and homes. Okay,
so
let's
buy the most fuel-efficient car you can.
Yeah.
And look at your home, and especially look at home heating. Look at insulation. Look at an Energy Star boiler. This is where you're going to get most of your CO2 emissions from, and it's also going to save you a heck of a lot of money if you're not having all these huge oil and gas bills.
Great. Roger, you are just a treasure trove of information. Thank you so much. It's been a great pleasure having Roger Smith from Clean Water Action on our show.
Thank you, Judi.
Thank you. Lovely.